Deciding whether or not to leave your husband is a pretty serious decision, and that's why my client today wanted to take this question to her higher self to see what her soul wanted for her. If you don't know me, my name is Tracy, and I lead my clients to look at a past life that's relevant to their current life. We look at what they do in between lives, and then we talk to the client's higher self. We get answers to every question they have about their lives, and in this case, she wanted to know, should she leave her husband? And what would it look like for her and her children if she does? Her higher self told us that it was a group decision between her and her spirit team that she would incarnate with this man as her husband. Her higher self told her that they've had past lives together and she was not really excited incarnating with him again this time because she knew it would be a difficult marriage. I asked her higher self what lessons is she learning or meant to learn by having the husband that she does. Her higher self said self-love and healing. The ability to heal herself and love herself and not depend so much on him. She gave up a lot of herself, her independence, and her sense of self when she got married. And it's twofold. On one hand, it's self-love, and on the other hand, it's for her to learn total acceptance of him. She has high standards for people, so it's her learning how to accept him for who he is. When I asked if they were working out lessons from previous lives, her higher self said they definitely are, and it's actually a repetitive loop that they're on. And this is why she feels so frustrated. She knew that there was a chance he would not do his healing work and it would lead them to right where they are now in a really difficult marriage because he just doesn't want to work on himself. He's staying stuck in traumatic and generational patterns and not moving forward. He's just playing them out with her in their marriage. So I asked her higher self, so was it really just her helping him with his lessons? And her higher self said, no, she's actually benefiting too. However, it would be easier for her to learn her lessons if she was not with him. And here's the important question I asked her higher self. I'm going to read the notes from my screen. I said, so what would it take for all the karma with her husband to be resolved and completed in this lifetime? What would she have to do? Her higher self said she needs to accept him where he is as he is. Don't try to change him. Don't take on his stuff. I do not think she can forgive him yet, because there's still anger and feelings towards him for the trauma and for not being what she wanted him to be. But she needs to accept him where he is. She knew when they got together already that she didn't like who he was, but then it's like she tried to change him the whole time. He does need to learn his lessons, but he also needs to be able to be himself. When I asked her higher self if it could teach her how to have acceptance and give her creator's definition of acceptance, her higher self said yes, but not until we clear out some old stuff from her childhood that's still affecting her, of feeling like she was not accepted in childhood. When I asked her higher self, what does it look like for you to do that kind of healing on her? This is what her higher self said. I'm going back to those moments in childhood and covering her with love and self-love and support, like a deep knowing of love and acceptance. I'm healing her heart. I'm using light to heal her heart as a child. Then there was a long pause and her higher self said, it's like when there's an outside attack that makes her feel unaccepted, she falls into a net now, that's there to catch her, that reassures her of who she is. I'm placing a pillar of light of acceptance that was broken with one that is whole. And by default, it will take out some of the judgment that she has towards others. I then said to her higher self, so you said she's holding judgment for her husband for not being the way she wants him to be. So how is this judgment impacting her negatively? And again, still reading from my notes, her higher self said, it creates feelings of disappointment and resentment. There's like a reflection on her. By projecting the judgment onto him, it reflects back onto herself, so then she feels the result of that judgment. I asked her higher self if that reflection helps her, and her higher self said, no, it doesn't. It's like a ricochet of energy. So she needs to accept him because then that will reflect back the energy of accepting herself as well. I said to her higher self, so it's like whatever she puts out, she gets back? And her higher self said, yes, exactly. Then her higher self worked on breaking up resentment for her husband that she was holding in her heart. Her higher self said it was like a rock of resentment accompanied by lots of dark spots in her heart. Her higher self healed and lightened all of that. So after doing some more healing around this topic, I asked her higher self if her soul had its way, would it want her to stay or leave her husband, and in what kind of time frame? Her higher self said her soul would want her to leave. We can move much faster without him. She will be given the tools that she needs. The timing is dependent upon her confidence. If she leaves without the confidence, that will make it harder. She needs to be confident when she goes. I asked her higher self, what if she decides to stay? What happens then? And her higher self said, if she stays, it will be difficult. There is more of an abandoning of herself in order to keep the peace, because if he doesn't learn his lesson, then the options become to sort of shrink down in order for her to keep the peace or to stay in her authority, but that will cause conflict. So both options can cause conflict and cause residual energy that's not wanted, and her children, they'll have a hard time with the separation, but it will be a growth opportunity for them. They will see more of the truth as they grow older, her higher self said. And I think taking such an important question like this can be invaluable when making such a tough decision. But by taking it to her higher self, she was able to see what would happen if she stays and what would happen if she goes. In other words, the most likely scenarios. And she got to take a peek at kind of where her husband stands and understand from her higher self that he does have lessons, but he's just not tackling them right now, and it doesn't appear that he's going to do so. Ultimately, the decision is my client's, of course, but having all of this information under her belt can help definitely give her more peace, more clarity, and more comfort in whatever decision that she decides to make.